Hey everyone, Lotus Prince here, and Happy New Year. We're starting 2026, and for this I have a Q&A for you. You have submitted questions, and I will do my best to provide you with answers. So, without further ado, I'll get right into it. Manny Stovall has a few questions. What do you think of both the Condemned games, haven't played them, and the Mirror's Edge games? From what I remember, I quite enjoyed Mirror's Edge, although I have not played the sequel, Catalyst. But I remember Mirror's Edge looks gorgeous and has amazing parkour movement. What is a game that you thought about playing but never got to playing? Don't get me started. My backlog is real. I've been wanting to play Blasphemous 2, I've been wanting to play Last Faith, which I actually finally have started playing. I'm going to be uploading boss fights of that later. Get back into Night Rain. I played it once when it came out, but I didn't pursue it because I gotta get used to it. A bunch of horror games I would like to play. I've finally started playing the Xenosaga series. You might have seen me upload a little bit of stuff for that. I've been sitting on that for like 10 years or more. There's a lot of PS2 stuff I need to do. I wouldn't mind doing Enslaved Odyssey to the West. There's loads of stuff. It's crazy. What are some things that you regret in life? I'm not going to really get into real-world stuff, but for a really minor thing, you may remember from my Resident Evil comparison video for Resident Evil 1. I was like, oh, there's this version, and I would show them. I had Resident Evil Saturn. I have since sold it, because I didn't need it anymore, but it went way up since then. I'll also say, I was at a garage sale once, where I picked up some cool stuff. I got Police Knots for the PS1, Power Stone 1 and 2 for the Dreamcast, and a novelization of Ico, and nothing was labeled. So I brought them up to the guy, and he said, well, you have 4 things, that'll be $4. I couldn't believe it. What a deal. I noticed he also had the controller for Steel Battalion. I don't know if that would have also been $1, but boy did I miss out on that. That's a regret. If you don't know what Steel Battalion is, Google it, look up the controller. Oh my god. Any thoughts on Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem? Yeah, I had thoughts on it like 15 years ago. I Let's Played it I think 14 years ago. You can actually look it up on my channel easily enough. Speaking of which, I want to say I've brought this up on 1 or 2 videos or something, but I know it's really easy to look at your subscription feed and see whether somebody has uploaded a new video or not. But I've been on YouTube for 14 or 15 years. My archive is ridiculous. So if you want to see if I've played some game, go to my channel, click Videos, go to the little magnifying glass thing for the search option, type in the name of a game, see what comes up. I did Eternal Darkness a long time ago. What do you think of that Resident Evil Requiem trailer with Leon Kennedy returning? Haven't seen it. Living Corpse 5664. Is there a crossover between 2 or more IPs you'd love to happen? Tell you what, even though I'm not really big into fighting games, I would like to see Guilty Gear cross JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They're both really eccentric, they both have gorgeous animation, and they're both full of characters with musical references in their names. It's a match made in heaven. Do it in the Arc Sysworks engine or CyberConnect stuff. Take your pick. WolfMoon23 has a few questions. Is there a game you genuinely didn't like on your first playthrough, but later came to appreciate after visiting it or revisiting it years later? If so, what changed? Your taste, your perspective, or the context in which you played it? I'm not going to say I full-on disliked it, but I was not a huge fan of Resident Evil 5 when I first played it. I think at the time I was mostly focusing on gameplay, and the gameplay was better even than Resident Evil 4's, but I wasn't a big fan of the heavy emphasis on co-op. I prefer a single-player experience. And I remember hearing over and over that Sheva was a terrible NPC partner. Now, as it turns out, I actually was playing it with a friend of mine, so I never got to see Sheva's jank AI. When I finally revisited Resident Evil 5 later on the PS4, It seemed okay to me. Maybe it was patched or something, but I'd heard horror stories about how she would just devour all of your healing items. That didn't seem to happen with me. But also, when I Let's Played Resident Evil 5, I was playing it with a friend as well, online, and the experience was actually really great. I remember thinking that Resident Evil 5 was just Resident Evil 4 but worse. But no, there's more going on in the lore that I remembered. The gameplay, even though you're with two people all the time, works perfectly well with a friend or by yourself. I mean, I still have a soft spot for Resident Evil 4. I played that game over and over again, but I have to say, Resident Evil 5 really is actually pretty good. I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mood the first time or what, but my opinion of that game has greatly improved. If you were forced to live inside the world of one game you've played on the channel, which game would you choose and which would you absolutely refuse to live in? I mean, for these questions, I always say whatever world is the most normal. In this case, I would probably go with, just off the top of my head, I can't remember everything, but maybe Parasite Eve. As absolutely horrifying as Mitochondria Eve was, that was a very localized, very brief incident. Just stay out of New York City for the couple of days before Christmas of that year, and you're good. I live in New Jersey. I would never even have known about it. I would have read about it in the paper a couple days later, like, what the hell? And that would have been the end of that. And what would you absolutely refuse to live in? I mean, this is low-hanging fruit. Berserk. There's absolutely nothing good about that world. Are there any space exploration or space travel games that really stood out to you, either because of their atmosphere or visual style? I don't know if I've played too many of those. Like, Ratchet & Clank doesn't really feel like space exploration, even though it literally is. But I haven't done much in the way of space exploration. Loom, kind of. That one kind of felt like you're just dealing with space. Especially the very beginning of that game where you're actually floating around. That was interesting. Is there one you'd still like to play or cover in the future? Yeah, I can think of two. There's an upcoming Supermassive game. Supermassive is the group that did Until Dawn and those dark picture anthology games, Man of Meta and Little Hope, House of Ashes, Devil Within, Devil in Me, and there was a tease of some space game. So that's terrifying. That looks interesting. Also, Echo Knight. FromSoft has done Echo Knight games. The first one was what? In the 1940s on a ship, I think? The second one was also old school. But there's Echo Knight Beyond on PS2. It's in space! What the hell, man? So I'm kind of interested in that one, too. Gaze21X. Also a couple questions. Anything that happened this year to you that you really enjoyed? I mean, my life is very, I don't know, consistent isn't quite the word here, but very, pattern-oriented. I live a very repetitive life, kind of by design. I'm okay with that. But I did have some watch parties with friends. I watched the movie Weapons. Really, really good movie. And I watched the new War of the Worlds, which is not a fantastic movie, but it was really fun to watch with friends. That movie, like, they genuinely did the best with what they had. It's just that that was a COVID shoot movie, and what they had wasn't great. So it was kind of awkward. Just the main character, like the main actor, spending the entire movie just on a chair looking at a camera because he's working for the government and he's doing all sorts of surveillance. So his entire existence on the movie is just looking at a computer. And he's got some winner lines. Like, they're going into hyper download. I love that line. Anything particular you'd like to do the next year? I don't know. Maybe try practicing speedrunning of something I'm passionate about. That'd be interesting. Can I Geek? As a new viewer to your channel, are there any Let's Plays you would recommend I go back and watch? Ones you are particularly proud of? Yeah, I have a bunch, really. The Resident Evil, Silent Hill stuff are classics. Fatal Frame are classics. The aforementioned Eternal Darkness. There's a bunch of co-op stuff I've done, though. Like with my friend Vice the Bold, I did Snatcher. With my friend Pyrojack Frost, I did Danganronpa. With my friend Old Man Stompy, I did Harvester. With Adi Quinn, I mentioned Resident Evil 5 as well. Fantastic. With Mr. Ryu, we did some meme stuff like Overblood and Ride to Hell, but we also did some of the more serious stuff like Supermassive, the Until Dawn, the Quarry, the Dark Pictures anthology games. There's a bunch of cool stuff to check out. Honestly, there's a lot of good stuff on there. I have nearly 200 Let's Plays. Who knows how many streams? You have options. Dragon Ace SG7. We've seen remakes of Silent Hill, Fatal Frame, Resident Evil, even the original Clock Tower. What's another series? Doesn't need to be horror, but what's another series you'd enjoy getting that kind of treatment? Eternal Darkness would be interesting if they could get it out of Rights Hell. Alice would be fun as well. Conversely, what's a series you hope everyone just leaves alone? In terms of remake, I don't care, because the original game still exists. I'm more concerned with a story ruining what's been building up to that point. Like, I know the original game still exists in that case too, but there's something that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's like the Game of Thrones phenomenon. That series was nothing but gold, gold, gold until it started getting weak toward the end, and in the final season, the character assassinations and plot contrivances were so bad that people didn't even rewatch the first season anymore. Whew. So don't, have the story follow a thread that leads to garbage, because it'll sour me on the whole experience. Neon Wave 1. What did you get for Christmas? Nothing! But as for what I got for Hanukkah, my brother got me a graphic novel called Tongues. I hadn't heard of it, but he said it was brilliant, so I look forward to reading it. When he's given me comics and graphic novel stuff before, they've been winners. He gave me Sweet Tooth before. It was in one book, but it was a compilation, but that was unbelievable. My parents got me a couple of Oz books. I think I could actually show you one of them here. Here we go. They got me one of the old school editions. So that's pretty cool. They find them at flea markets sometimes. I mean, they're not like $1 at a flea market. Like, they do have some cost, but they're not as much as they would have been if you found them at some primo bookstore or something. So it's pretty gorgeous. I mean, I've read the Oz books a while ago from newer editions I got from the library, but it's cool to have the older editions. And some chocolates. Hey. Elemental Hero Joe. Should the Alice games get a remake? So I kind of addressed that already. Should they? No. But I mean, it would be cool. Do you like the change to first person in Resident Evil, or prefer third person? I think I prefer third, but first isn't bad. I mean, it works. Survivor is a jank game, but I like the idea of running around in first person. There are some games that shift from third to first, like Revelations has a touch of that, and what was it? Mercenaries 3D has a touch of that. I know Resident Evil 7 is all in first. I only played the demo of that one, but it's interesting. It's an experiment. Not the first time they've done it. Do you have any pet peeves when watching Let's Plays? It depends on the context of what's happening. What does kind of bug me a bit is if the player just does not care about what's going on. Like, it's their first game, it's their first time playing it, but they're just not interested in what the game has to say. They're just like, shut up, let me go find stuff or whatever. It's one thing if you're watching a speedrun and they're just trying to, gloss over everything because they already know the game so well, but if they're playing something like, I don't know, like Dark Souls or whatever, and they just don't care about the lore at all. Like, I know that's a game you could skip the lore entirely, but when the game has something to say and they're just not interested, it kind of bugs me a bit. Or mismanaging skills, then complaining about why they're struggling. I put all of my points into strength, and this needs dex. Damn it, that means the game is bad. If you can't respec, then that does suck. But, you know what I mean. I put all my points into this thing, I should have done that thing, and I'm complaining about the game itself rather than, grinding for more points or something, whatever. Fred T. 1983, do you still have your... It says Killer is Dead comics, but I think you mean Killer 7 comics. Yeah, still got a bunch. It's Andre Almeida. I know a few LPers and people that loved the game that just used that crossover you had with Linkara because they simply don't exist anywhere else. Yeah, these comics, I mean, they're old and very of the time, so you'd have to go to eBay to find them. Even if you went to old, like, comic conventions or places that have old comics, good luck finding those. They're not just around. Don't know if they all gave you credit, though. Heh. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. How many people talk about the freaking Killer 7 comics? But yeah, there you go. That, by the way, for the question about, any videos you recommend, that's not a Let's Play, but I do recommend you take a look at the crossover I have with Linkara where I covered the comic book. That was my video where he guested rather than the other way around, and it was really cool of him to do so, because this was at, like, a MagFest. He had things to do, but it was really cool of him to partner up with me that time. And I've also Let's Played Killer 7. I had a whole Suda51-a-thon. Killer 7, No More Heroes 1 and 2. Now I've done 3, but at the time there was only 1 and 2. Shadow of the Dam, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead. Awesome. Dog Totem 7. If you were to be in a Raccoon City type scenario, what would be your weapon of choice? I think I'd probably be dead considering how agile and, in some cases, projectile heavy the enemies are. But I would probably want something durable like a steel pipe or something. I would just hole myself up somewhere and hope for the best. Buckers107. Did Eternal Darkness have the best sanity system compared with other games that have them? Not many games did. Eternal Darkness is a real winner for its meta stuff, but I have to give a shout out, of all games in the world, to Dead Space 3. I know that game is kind of the black sheep of the series because it's co-op, and co-op in a horror game... And I know Resident Evil 5 did it. Resident Evil 5 isn't really horror. Dead Space is still trying to be horror, though, and it's co-op, and you have currency to make your new guns, and you can customize your gun. Like, those are cool features, but for Dead Space, let me tell you, though, the multiplayer exclusive levels have some of the best sanity effects I've seen. Because one of your characters, the second player, is mentally unwell, and he's got issues that you can read up on in the lore, and he just sees things differently from what Isaac sees. And that game, from what I remember, does not have split-screen co-op. You have to do it online. But that actually contributes to the sanity effects. I remember there was one part, a friend of mine and I actually did try recording Dead Space 3, but his computer borked and lost the footage, so there's a Let's Play that just doesn't exist, unfortunately. But there was one part where we were starting some multiplayer mission, and we were approaching some building, and there's a woman outside talking to us, and my friend just starts talking over her, and I was like, well, hold on, let her finish. And he was like, let who finish? And, we were in the same room. We weren't playing online from our respective houses or whatever. Like, we were both in his basement. He had a computer set up and a TV set up. So I just looked over at his screen. There's just nobody there. Like, my character was just seeing and hearing things. It's amazing. So it's one thing for Eternal Darkness to mess with you. But in Dead Space, it's gaslighting both players into questioning what each other sees. It's bananas. Yoret, what would you call your favorite genre of games now that you've Let's Played so many? I'm still a sucker for survival horror, but I've really gone in on Souls-likes and to a bit of a lesser extent, roguelites. They're just fun. They're just fun. Mike Solis, just wondering about the state of the Patreon list. Alright, I'm gonna tell you, the backlog is real. At the time of this recording, there are 15 Patreon requests on my list. So it's gonna take a while to get to those later ones. I do apologize. I tried doing one Let's Play of my decision, or of my choice, one of a patron's choice, and that means it can take a while. I'm not gonna tell you what all 15 are, but you know what? I'll let you in on 3 of them. The next Patreon request I have is Chronomaster, a game I hadn't even heard of until the request. I have now played it. It's very interesting. The next Let's Play is, they actually gave me a choice. Akanagwa for the PS1, Blade Runner for the PC, or Discworld Noir for the PS1. I'm reasonably sure I'm going to go for Blade Runner on this one. And then the third request I have is the original BioShock. So get hyped for those. Those are all... I haven't played Discworld Noir, well, I haven't played Discworld Noir. I haven't played Blade Runner. I hear it's good, and I know the other two are good. And finally, we have a question from Thakathon. While the vast majority of movie-based games are mediocre or terrible, is there still a particular title you'd have liked to see adapted into a video game? Even if that title already has a game adaptation. For example, Little Shop of Horrors is a funny store management sim, or James Cameron's Avatar being an RTS-style game. I do kind of like the idea of Little Shop of Horrors. There's not even Audrey 2. You're just running a plant shop in the 50s, and that's just it. That's the whole game. It's just a regular shop sim. I don't know, though. This isn't really something I've given thought to. When I received your question, I tried thinking of what's a movie I'd like to see turned into a game, but it's difficult for me to think of things like that. I don't know, like, I know you said even if it's already been adapted, but a few of the movies I've thought of already have been adapted, and I don't know how differently I would go. I know John Wick has that hex-based game. Maybe if there were more of an action-oriented John Wick game, I don't know. But I don't really have any movies where I was thinking that has got to be a game. Independence Day might be interesting. That one already technically has a Tiger Electronics game that I had when I was a kid, but Independence Day might be interesting, although that's severely dated at this point. It was from, like, what, the 90s or something? It's an old movie now, but hey, that'd be kind of cool. But there you go. Those are the questions I've received. I hope my answers have been satisfactory. Otherwise, I'm going to be announcing my next Let's Play soon, so get ready for that. Otherwise, I say again, Happy New Year, thank you all very much for your questions, and thank all of you for your support. Until next time, everyone.